Hey there, welcome to my channel, Strange Things by Mel. My name is Melissa. I'm a stay-at-home mom living in Vancouver, Canada, and on my channel I chat and share everything about my knitting hobby. Today I am sharing some yarn which was kindly gifted to me from Hobbii. Hobbii is a company based out of Denmark, and they reached out to me and asked if I'd be interested in trying out their yarn. They are not a new to me company, however, I've never tried any of their yarns, so I was feeling quite excited and a little bit flattered to receive a message from them. I responded saying that yes, I was interested, but I also wanted to be given the opportunity to provide honest feedback and review of the yarns that I was going to select, and they were totally fine with that. So I was able to choose yarn from both the Hobbii and the Friends line. Those are both their in-house yarns, which they produce themselves. And they didn't provide any limits or restrictions within those two lines. And I was a little bit torn about how much to order. I also didn't want to overstep and ask for too much, but given the time frame and the kind of content they asked me to create in exchange for this gifted yarn, I decided to stick to some light spring summer tops, which I believe I'll be able to do within hopefully a month's time. So let's just go ahead and dive into these Hobbii yarns. The first yarn I selected is called the Hobbii Unicorn Solid. This is color number 26 and it's called Green Tea. It is in a twisted skein form, so it looks like a hand-dyed yarn. If you're familiar with Hobbii yarns, Unicorn is actually a hand-dyed line, but this solid line is not hand-dyed. But the colors for this solid line come from the hand-dyed colors. And actually, when you look at the product description for this yarn, it will tell you, for example, this color green tea, you'll find it in the hand-dyed yarn numbered number 5, for example. So these solid colors are supposed to match or be complementary to the hand-dyed unicorn line. So this is a 100-gram skein. This is 75% superwash merino, spun with 25% polyamide. Polyamide, if you're not quite sure, it's kind of like nylon. So nylon is actually a subcategory of the larger group called polyamides. So polyamides can be a synthetic or natural fiber, and actually includes things like Kevlar. So polyamides is kind of more of a general term to use, and nylon is a subcategory of that. This feels like typical sock yarn, 100 grams, 400 meters. That's in line with most other hand-dyed sock yarns as well. This is also OEcoTex certified, meaning that it's been tested for harmful substances or toxic substances. And this also comes in 27 shades. So I've selected this yarn to make a top, which the pattern was recently released. It comes from Jessie Maed Designs, and it's called the Mini Mock Neck Tank. And I have my swatch here ready. I've hit gauge with this yarn. When I did block this, I did have to pin it to size, but I do like the fabric that is created from this yarn. The Mini Mock Neck Tank is very similar to a top I'm wearing right now, relatively high neck and crop length. So you can't see it right now, but the top I'm wearing is also cropped. So I'm excited to add a colored version of this style tank to my wardrobe, because right now I only have white, black, and gray. And I think especially with my tan skin, this color will go very nicely. So there it is, Unicorn Solid in the color Green Tea. The second yarn I selected is another superwash yarn, except this one comes from the Friends line. So a fun and interesting thing about the Friends line, if there's a particular color, all the colors are numbered, and those numbers are the same across the other products or items offered. So for example, they have a kid silk, which I'll be showing just after this yarn, and this yarn, which is the extra fine merino. This is the color olive. If olive is available in kid silk, it will have the same number code as well. So it makes it kind of easy to match up across the Friends product lineup. So I have here the Friends extra fine merino in the color olive 109. This is 100% superwash merino. And if you are familiar with Drops baby merino, at first glance, I feel like it's very comparable to that. So this is 50 grams, 165 meters, comes in 49 different shades. It comes from South America and is muslin free, and this one is also Oecotex certified. So, oh, I forgot to mention the price of this yarn. So the listed price for the Unicorn Solid is $22 US, which is roughly $28.85 Canadian per skein. This extra fine merino is listed at $7.80 US, which is $10.23 Canadian. I've selected this yarn to do another recently released pattern from My Favorite Things knitwear, and it's Camisole number 9. I also hit gauge with the recommended needles with this yarn. And like other superwash yarns, you can see that one leg kind of is more pronounced or slightly more twisted than the other. I've seen this happen in other superwash yarns, so this isn't a deal breaker with this yarn. And for Camisole number 9, which is an all stockinette tank, I think that's going to add some textural interest to it. So again, also excited. I picked another color, which for summer with my tan skin, again, I think will go very nicely. The last yarn I selected is the Friends Kid Silk, as I had mentioned. This is in the color Cognac number 17. 25 gram ball, which is 72% mohair, 25% silk, and 3% wool. You can see how it's a bit hairy. It's not too fluffy looking. It feels relatively soft. Whether it's going to be prickly on my skin, I'm not sure. So this yarn is produced in Italy. I didn't see any certifications for this yarn. Doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but since I mentioned Oecotex and muslin free on the other yarns, just wanted to mention I didn't see anything like that for this particular one. This comes in 66 shades. Off the top of my head, I can think of Knitting for Olive produces a lot of shades for their mohair, but I don't know if it's 66. So this could be a great alternative if you are looking for a particular color that you don't see anywhere else. I mean, 66 shades, you're bound to find something that you like. Now, whether you actually like this composition, well, I've chosen a top that I'm going to use this held single stranded. I'm not going to hold it with any other yarn, so I can really test out whether it's prickly or not. So that top is the Dare to Mohair top from Thorson Knits. It is a top-down raglan. The ribbing details are done with holding the strand double, but the main body is held single. And I did hit gauge with the recommended needles with this yarn as well. And you can see it's going to be relatively sheer with it being single-stranded, but since it's quite fluffy, there's still going to be some warmth. I plan to make mine with a good amount of positive ease, not too much, but enough to get a nice drape over the bust and make sure that there's no mohair hanging around too close to my armpits. The price on this yarn, listed price is $11.20 US, which is $14.69 Canadian. So that's, I think, where I can shop here in BC. That's close to the same price of Sandnes Tin Silk Mohair, for example. Now, since they list their prices in US and they are based out of Denmark, shipping is something that you may have to consider depending where you're ordering from. I don't know how much shipping would have been for my order, which was a value of almost or just over 140 Canadian, I believe, and a total of 11 skeins. So it's like a good size package. Not sure how much shipping would have been for that. And, you know, that could be something that, should I decide to actually purchase on my own from Hobbii, that may be a deciding factor. But if I really, really enjoy these yarns, maybe that's something I compromise over. So those are the 3 yarns that I selected and were gifted to me from Hobbii, and the 3 projects I'm planning to make. Now, the challenge for myself is whether I can finish all 3 of those in the month of August. So stay tuned for a future video at the end of the month where I'm going to provide more in-depth details and review of the yarns, and you can find out whether I made all 3 tops or not. So feel free to leave me any comments or questions below, and until next time, guys, happy knitting. Bye.